afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Big J's Do It Your Damn Self Garage. The vacation day. I took a day of vacation to do some things, and usually when I take a day of vacation, I kind of do stuff around in my garage or whatever in the Do It Your Damn Self Garage. Today, what I'm doing is I'm doing an upgrade. I have here, let's see, this is called an RC converter, and this is on my Harley. What this RC converter does is it converts the signal from the head unit to an RC output that goes into the amp. I've got dual amps in my Harley, and this takes the wired connection that comes from the output. On a stock system, the wires come from the head unit to the speaker. When you upgrade, you take the speaker wires off and run those to wherever the amp is, and it connects into this RCA unit. Now, the problem with this is a couple things. This was a plug right here that goes into the, this is the input plug from the head unit. Now, what this does is you plug in your wires into this, you wire it up, and then on the back end, these are the RCA outputs that go to the amplifier. My problem was, I've got two problems with this. One, if you notice this, and I'll point it to the side, these are flush mounted. And so it's hard for the RC cable to hook into these without coming loose. And on a motorcycle, that's a big issue. The other problem is on this unit, on the input side, there's a plug there, and that plug tends to wiggle around, and eventually you develop a short in the plug. So I said, you know what, this was a Best Buy special. It's called the POC Audio LP6-4, which basically means it's a 4-channel RCA output. I went with the DS18 unit, which is a little more substantial. And if you notice, the RCA outputs are extended out from the body so that you can get those down on there real good and they can secure themselves. And then on the other side, rather than a plug, you plug the wires directly into this unit. Now the key is I need to make sure I'm getting the right wires and the right plugs. I've got a schematic of the plugs. I know where they're supposed to go. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to snip the wires, put them into this unit, and these bolt down so that the wires are a little more secure and a little more separated. So I should get a cleaner sound. This also has this is a powered RCA converter. This was just no power. It just basically sent the signal straight through. This one has a 12-volt input, ground, and a remote control, which will come off of my main amp. I've already got the power back here, so I'll run that to this. And it also has some volume control on it as well. Because I'm running this to an amp, I probably am not going to mess with the volume on here. I'll keep the volume low, because as you add more power to the input of the amp, you create more distortion, and it just doesn't sound clean. So this is where I'm at today, folks. I'm going to get to it, and hopefully soon I'll show you what I got. Just a little tip, right here, this is a sample of the wire that I've cut. These are very, small gauge wires basically. This is the input line from the head unit to the RCA converter. I want you to notice how long I got that. Obviously it doesn't plug in that far. What the RC converter I have, the DS18, it's got screw, basically you push the end of the wire in and you screw it down tight to get an electrical connection. I cut these longer than I have to, and what I normally do is when I cut them, I bend the wire so that it's, I cut it twice as long and I bend it in half. And what this does is I don't have any exposed wire sticking out, and because this wire is a small gauge wire, um, I think it may be like a 16 gauge or whatever, uh, when I bend it I give it a little more strength. So it's not much more strength, but it's better than if it were straight like this. And as you can see, that has a tendency to break off because it's, like I said, it's relatively thin. So again, I bend the wire halfway like this, and then I put it into my plug and screw it down. I want just a little bit of the plastic or rubber wire cover into the gauge as well. You don't want to have any wire sticking out of the end after you plug it in, because it could touch something and you get distortion and whatnot. So you want it to be completely insulated, and that's the way I've always done it. I'm sure other people have done it different ways, but this works for me. Basically, like I said, cut it twice as long, fold it in half, push in, and screw it down. Well, folks, another successful job in Big J's Do It Your Damn Self Garage. It was a pretty job. Basically, as I explained before, all I did was change out this RCA converter, which converts the signal from the head unit to RCA for the amp input. I switched this out. This was a PAC LP64, which I got from Best Buy. Don't buy it. I can't recommend the product. I mean, well, maybe if they sponsor me, I might recommend it. But at any rate, I swapped this out, and I got the DS18 RC converter, which is powered, and it does add a little strength to the signal. It's a better converter. The connections are more secure. I'm waiting on one thing to arrive. I've ordered some new RCA cables. I've got a pretty decent setup on my stereo in my motorcycle, but the thing that everyone needs to, you can get all the great amps and speakers you want, but the wire that connects all this stuff together has to be a good quality. And I went cheap. I bought some Walmart RCA cables, and now I'm buying some more cables. Kind of wasted money on the cheap stuff. And that's what usually happens when you buy cheap shit. You don't really win. You pay more in the end because you won't be satisfied with how the cheap stuff performs. The thing about stereo installs, like I said, it doesn't matter the quality of the amp, speakers, head unit. All of that is negated if you go with cheap wires or a cheap converter. Spend the extra money to get the better quality wires. The RC converter wires or RCA cables that I ordered are gold tipped, gold plated. So they will transmit the signal a lot better than the Walmart. Anything will transfer them a lot better than the Walmart shit. But get the decent RCA cables and get your decent speaker wires. A lot of people have clipping with their stereo system, especially on bikes, and the 99% of that is because they don't get good quality wires that go from the amp to the speakers themselves. The wire that goes from the amp to the speaker should be of good quality, good gauge, thickness, because the number one reason that they clip is because you're trying to push more power to the speaker than the wire will allow. And what happens is when you do that, the amp gets hot and it clips out. It basically cuts out. So always get the best quality wire you can. If you're going to spend the money on the system, go all the way and spend the money on good wires, and you'll do a lot better job. Now, I'm probably going to get out and I didn't show it, but I got me a RAM mount, which I've got my cell phone, which I'm filming this video on. I've got my cell phone mounted to my handlebars, and that's why I'm not, no hands, Mom. It's mounted up here, and I'm recording it. I want to get some video of me riding Big Blue with the stereo plan just to see how it does. Make sure I got everything tight, and I don't, when I hit a bump, it doesn't cut out or I get a lot of feedback or anything like that. Plus, it's a great day outside. You know, I've been in most of the day. I took a vacation day today so that I could do some things, and this was one of the things I wanted to do, plus record this for you. And so now I'm going to manage to get this bike out, and then I'll record me riding, and hopefully you can hear the stereo as I'm riding, and get an idea of what it sounds like when I'm riding. Even with the cheap stuff I had on here, it sounded great. It didn't sound 100, which was a problem for me. So I'll be back, and next time you see me, I'll be on Big Blue riding somewhere. I need to go get some shades too. I think I broke my sunglasses the other day. In a minute, fellas and ladies. While I was waiting, messing around today, getting food and doing other stuff around the house, my package from Amazon arrived, which has the cables that I wanted to install. And I just want to show you. This is the old cable, a Walmart special. This is the new cable, and as you can see, it's quite a bit thicker. In fact, I can just hold that up. You can see that it's quite a bit thicker. This is one cable. This is both cables. So it's much thicker than the cables that I originally had on here. And I'm about to pop them in real quick. Take me 2 seconds to pop them in. But basically now I'm going to be, and also gold-plated tips, which will make a big difference because gold is a very good electrical conductor. So I'm going to pop them in, and I'm going to swing the bike around. I said I was going to go riding earlier, but I got tied up with stuff. So I'm going to give it a shot. Before I go, though, let me tell you this. I will be, for the YouTube, copyright folks, I do not own the rights to this music that I will be playing during the ride. I am only using the ride to demonstrate the capabilities of the stereo. So it's not implied or insinuated that I own the rights to the music that I'll be playing. Hopefully they won't clip it and I won't have any sound on where I put the music, but I'll see what I can do.
Wasn't hit by gunfire, but was injured by shrapnel or broken glass. Former Missouri football coach Gary Pinkel has made his first appearance as a nominee for the College Football Hall of Fame. In his 15 seasons at Mizzou, Pinkel's team had winning records 10 times and went 6-4 in bowl appearances. News is sponsored by Lowe's. Shop Lowe's and pick up 5 bags of Scott's mulch for just $10. Valid through 6/24/20, in-store only. For all the news online 24/7, go to news1.com.
Taking a look at traffic, northbound I-170. We had an earlier vehicle fire just south of 270. It's been extinguished, cleared. Crews have left the scene. Still dealing with a little bit of a delay, though. It's 17 minutes from 4064 to 270. Also, 270 westbound on the brakes, 367 to Old Halls Ferry Road with roadwork in the right lane till 2:30. This report is sponsored by Allstate. With an Allstate agent, you get a local expert to help finding the best coverage for you. Plus, when you bundle home and auto, you can save. So call your local Allstate agent today. Are you in good hands? Sunny today, a high of 90 degrees.
Racism anywhere and everywhere, once and for all. This is Reality Radio with Kathy Hughes. What's your reality? What's your reality? What's your reality?
If you're in debt to the IRS, there's good news. Optima Tax Relief can help you resolve your tax debt right from the safety of your own home. Optima's award-winning team works with you online and over the phone, so you don't have to leave the comfort of your home to put your tax problems to rest. Optima's A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and standing by, ready to help you today. Call now for a free consultation. Call 800
cancer. Learn more about how to reduce your risk for the 6 most commonly diagnosed cancers at health.mo.gov from the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services. Broadcasting live from the
They call it the new normal.
Hi, you could just leave the pizza right on the ground.
The ground?
Yep, thank you. Hello?
Mr. Chopper here. I found you some hand sanitizer.
I love you.
Okay.
But one thing remains the same.
One time tap at Frank Lita, the Frank Lita Automotive Outlet in South County and in Bridgeton. Also, new Frank Lita Mitsubishis in Bridgeton. It's still a crime to pay more than a dime. And get this, you make no car payments for up to 4 months. Yeah, 4 months plus 0% financing.
Frank Lita, get $25,000 in credit.
Like now?
Yes, if you bring home $350 a week, you can get up to $25,000 in credit over the phone and online.
At the Frank Lita Automotive Outlet in Bridgeton and in South County. Plus, new Frank Lita Mitsubishis in Bridgeton. YesLita.com. Yes, LETA.com.
Well, peeps, that wraps up this episode of Big J's Do It Your Damn Self Garage. Just a little recap. Well, first, I did record me riding with the stereo on, and it sounds fantastic. But I'm a little concerned that YouTube will clip the video because I'm using music that I did not own. You know what I'm talking about. But at any rate, it sounds much clearer. It has a much sharper tone. The bass is a lot better. And that's all from changing the RCA converter and the RCA cables. I can't stress how big of a difference it is. I mean, you know, I still enjoyed the stereo with the old stuff on it. It just didn't sound perfect to me. And I'm not well, yeah, I try to be a perfectionist, but it didn't sound right to me. And so once I got done with that, it sounds perfect. And I want everyone to be safe, stay safe, and be aware of your surroundings.